watching the Dawgs Show. Another new episode is coming up tonight.
It's the Dawgs Show. It's the Dawgs Show. It's the Dawgs Show.
You're listening to the one and only Dawgs Show. Your hosts, Troup Brenson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
Welcome, dog fans, to the one and only Dawgs Show with Troup and Smooch.
Yes.
And it's National Championship Eve. Or no, it's tonight. Last night was the eve. We're recording this Monday morning, so a big game tonight. And me and Smooch are going to talk about it. We're going to talk about some other things going on with Georgia program, the state of the program, as it were.
Yeah. I get excited for the national championship game. Of course, there is one key ingredient missing from the national championship, and that is our Georgia Bulldogs. I still believe Georgia walked off the field against Ole Miss as the best team in college football. They just didn't put it together when it mattered the most, and that makes this particular game, watching it without my decor up and without my shirt on and without my Georgia shirt on, I should say. I'll have a shirt on during the game, but
Optional. It's still optional.
It's still optional, yeah. But it just makes it a little bittersweet this evening.
Yeah, it does. I do remind you folks to like and give us a subscribe if you're enjoying what you're hearing. And as we rapidly approach the off season, we're going to do some new things. And we just appreciate everything from our fans, our listeners. And just remember to subscribe and help push our numbers. And we will be able to, reach more eyeballs and more ears. We'd appreciate that. Do it right now. Thank you.
It's a very moment, yes.
Yeah. During the season, and the season goes by so quick that it feels like there's always games to talk about or what happened and why. And we really had a good time this year talking about what happened after each game and trying to figure that out. And but now we're going to kind of switch gears and we talk about the Georgia program and talk about in just a moment the state of the program and what we've been hearing, what I've been seeing. I'm on a lot of social media sites every day, and I got some issues with that. But it also brings up, I guess, the focal point of what most Georgia fans are thinking about. But I do want to talk about tonight's game real quick in Indiana and Miami. That's a weird matchup. I mean, how much money could we have made, Smooch, if we would, before the season started, said we got these two teams meeting up in the national championship?
I don't think anybody called it. I think Kurt Signetti believed he'd be in this game this year, and I think that's about it. You would have made a lot. It's an interesting matchup. I'm excited about it. I've told you this before. I've said this on our thread. I'm done betting against Kurt Signetti. Every fiber of my football knowledge tells me Carson Beck and that Miami defense take care of business tonight. But I'm not betting against Kurt Signetti anymore. Every time I have been wrong. That man took down Ohio State and Alabama in back-to-back weeks. I don't recall an SEC team ever doing that. And so hats off. Go get what's yours. Make it a good game at least. That's kind of where I stand.
Yeah, I just want to see. I love games that come down to the last possession of the fourth quarter. That makes me happy. Some anxiety there at the end of any game that I don't have a rooting interest in was all I can ask for. You saw that. You've seen it a lot lately, especially the NFL had some good games.
Yeah, it's a good slate of games yesterday.
But what's Vegas giving? Vegas is giving Miami like 7 or 8 points. I think that Indiana's highly favored. I think that's right.
I think that's right. I saw, let me see what the latest is, because it changes at the last minute because of all the last minute bets that come in. Let's see. A professional would have had this pulled up before the podcast started.
Well, the thing is that
Yeah,
it's weird,
eight and a half, up to 8.5 now, Troup.
Wow, yeah.
That's 2 scores, guys.
These are 2 odd teams to be in there because, I mean, they've adapted, or they maybe for this year things are going really well for them in terms of all the people they brought in. I think that the sustainability of transfers, large portions of transfers for your team, that's something that it's gonna play out. We'll find out pretty soon in the next couple of years if that is sustainable with teams, because you really have to hit. A lot of these players, I do like that the players are a little bit older, and so you get some of that maturity. You get some people the players at their peak performance and understanding of college football and ability to play at a high level. But so that it's an interesting experiment. Again, we've been saying a lot of these things in the past 4 or 5 years are interesting experiments. Yeah. But these teams that are massive transfer portal teams, I really want to see how often they keep these teams in contention every year for playoff positions.
Right. No one has shown that it's a viable model for sustained excellence so far. I would say Cignetti probably has the best chance since he did have a good year last year. And of course, he's favored to win a national championship tonight. But is it an anomaly in that when you have success at something, people that are desperate are going to copy it, right? You're going to see it replicated time and time again. So once this model begins to be implemented wider and more teams using this model, can it still stand up? That's what I mean by a viable model for sustained elite success. So you have more and more teams doing this. Can the system supply these teams with these players? The idea of the older player, that's real. I've always said, in jiu-jitsu, people used to talk about there's a strength you get just by being older. It doesn't matter how much you work out or how much you lift. The older you get, you're just stronger. And we're seeing that. You couple maturity with physical strength and knowledge and put that together, and it makes up for a little bit of twitch here and there or a few stars in your rating here and there. And Cignetti has cracked the code, but has he discovered the wave of the future, or has he discovered a way to beat the system now until the system catches up? That's kind of the question that needs to be answered in the coming years.
Yeah, and he's also just a different style of coaching and preparation that I'm really curious about, and a lot of people are, that they spend much less time on the practice field beating each other up, which is a hallmark for Georgia football. Right. And they spend a lot more time in the classroom studying film and learning tendencies and learning plays. And maybe that fits right in with an older player who understands it a little more, and they don't have a learning curve quite as steep as a 17, 18-year-old. I don't know, but I'm curious about that. I'm very curious if those guys hit and they,
that's the
they
thing
play
that's surprising.
Really good football. And
very little full contact tackling at their practices, whereas Georgia has bloody Tuesdays, right? Very little, and yet they're prepared when they get to the game and they're not injured. Did you know in a significant portion of their games this year, they only played 13 players on defense?
Wow.
13. So they can't afford injuries, and their team is relatively uninjured, and they're not beaten up at practice. And it seems to be working. And there's some fundamental differences and philosophical differences between Georgia and that. And that is playing for a national title tonight. So
well, it's interesting because just because it's worked for Cignetti this year, I don't know it'll work for him every year. With just talking about the way he practices, because we've seen teams that weren't, if they're not physical in practice, they don't devote that to their personality and their identity. They don't tackle well in games, or they turn the ball over. Good contact, physical contact results a lot of times in turnovers, and then they on the other side, their defense just misses tackles. I've seen it. I've seen it when Georgia buckles down and has good practices and is really physical. That's what they do. They tackle better than most teams. And they don't turn the ball over.
Georgia, Tennessee, 2022. Georgia, Tennessee, 2022. That's the perfect example.
So it's not just in theory that it works, but the interesting part is it's working in a different way this year for Indiana, and I just don't know. Maybe it's all things colliding together. Is working for them this year, but I just don't know if it's sustainable in terms of that practice regimen, or just the transfer portal. And because, like I said, you really have to. So Georgia model is more they recruit these players and they invest in keeping them. They did even better this year, as they kind of learned that that's what their philosophy is and that's what they're going to do. They've spent a lot of money, but in keeping players, because folks, Georgia's players are sought out all over the country. Even backup players like Dom Kelly, who had an opportunity to fight for a starting position because this was his first year as a Georgia on the Georgia campus. Mm-hmm. And next year he could battle with DeMello and Ellis Robinson. If he's better, he was going to play anyway, but he would have an opportunity to start. And so he went to the transfer portal, and a day later he signs with Ohio State, who also has a couple of guys in front of him. He's going to have to compete there as well. But they're coming after you, and so Georgia has had to prioritize and pay their players just to retain them. Even Raylan Wilson came out and said that, Ole Miss came after him. They were throwing. He said M's. You know what M's stand for?
Wow.
Coming after him to get him to transfer out.
Good luck. That's a dog right there. Good luck.
To Ole Miss.
Good luck.
Yeah, he said, no, I'm all dog. And all these players are having to make these decisions.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. If anybody in Georgia's too deep, they're coming and they're going to offer you and make it sound really good to get a change of scenery and get everything you want as a spotlight star player for their program.
Yeah, I really feel, Troup Brinson, I feel that we're partially responsible for the Dominic Kelly transfer because I truly believe we put him on the national radar when you and I saw him in person. Troup and I watched him in person at a scrimmage, and he popped off the field. In man-to-man coverage, he was the best player we saw that day. And at least one interception, may have had two.
He had two that spring game.
Yeah, he had two. And so we really, on the Dawgs Show, put him on the national stage. And I think that our excitement in Dom Kelly drew, we know the Ohio State coaching staff listens religiously to this show, judging by things they do and say. So it's not surprising to see them go after the hidden gem of the Dawgs Show and go and pluck Dominic Kelly from us.
Yeah, you're welcome, Ryan Day.
You're welcome, Ryan Day. We did your homework for you.
But for this game tonight, it's going to be interesting to talk about it afterwards, and it's a good source of conversation all off season. Just the way things have changed in college football, and not just on the field, but before just getting these rosters together and keeping them in. I really hope that there's. It looks like there's some. We've been saying this for a couple of years now. Some regulation coming up, and if not. You've heard Georgia's president, University of Georgia president, Jerry Moorhead, and it's like, if we can't get this figured out on a large scale, then, we'll figure it out as a conference, and you guys can, you be on the outside looking in.
I love that. I love that. I love leadership. Somebody needs to lead. At this point, I don't care if you're even, if I even agree with you fully, somebody's got to lead, because right now, it's just a bunch of greedy lawyers with their hands in children's pockets. I mean, that's essentially what college football is. None of this, keep in mind, none of this was for the betterment of the player. That's what it was couched in, so that we could make wealthy lawyers more wealthy. That is exactly what is going on in college football. So they don't care if they destroy the game or leave scorched earth. They have no loyalty to the game. What they see is an ATM machine whereby they can throw some table scraps at a few kids. They'll lap it up because kids in college are hungry, starving, they need the money, and then they can further line their pockets. That's what we're seeing. And then with this transfer portal madness, let me run a couple of teams by you, Troup. For every Indiana, right? Everybody points to Indiana. What about West Virginia, Purdue, Virginia, Louisville, Houston, Colorado, LSU even? All those people, huge splashes in the transfer portal last year. and moderate to zero success. So is it viable? Which is the norm? Which one will we see more often? The Indiana or the LSU? Which, LSU had they fired their coach, right? So which one is more likely? I guess you could even really say Ole Miss had a lot of transfers at key positions this year and did well. But it's just so chaotic on so many fronts right now. The money, the transfers, even like you stated at the beginning of the show, even knowing who are the viable teams in college football, you would have never guessed. You probably couldn't have guessed the Final Four this year. Usually you can come close, but yikes. I mean, it's a crazy year for college football.
So you're thinking that Miami finds a way to win tonight, or are you rooting for the Carson Beck and the Hurricanes?
I would say I'm rooting for the Hurricanes, but I would not put money against Indiana. I don't.
You just can't bet against them
until someone figures out a way to beat Signetti. I mean, he's the best there is. He's the best in football right now, and I don't mean he's the best recruiter. He's certainly not. But my goodness, he does more with less. As Bellamy says, but Bellamy gets it backwards. He says he does less with more. But anyway, he does more with less than any coach. And sometimes these reigns are sustained, and sometimes they're a flash in the pan. Which one will Signetti be? I don't know. But right now, he's obviously the best there is. He's taken out the best, so it really can't be argued.
It did help him to get Mendoza, or I predict if they would have had to go another route and didn't get Mendoza in there, because Georgia wanted Mendoza too.
Yeah, Georgia went after Mendoza.
And I think he would have had more of a Penn State type of season without Mendoza, which is good. I mean, they're a good, solid team. But that's why Penn State, they can challenge you for a certain amount of time and then they just lose, but usually because their quarterbacks are not good enough. But I got Indiana winning tonight. They don't make mistakes. They haven't made mistakes. Mendoza is that factor. So good. And you've been able to count on Indiana all year long. This may be their shining moment. They made, we may be talking differently about Signetti in the next couple of years. I don't know. Like I said, that's why this experiment is so interesting. But I got Indiana 34, Miami 24, 10-point win for the Hoosiers.
That's about where I have it. I had it 31-24. So I want that close game, and I think you see a tie ball game, and the ball handed to Mendoza, go win the national championship, and then he does what they've been doing all season, takes them down there, sticks it in the end zone, they take the victory.
Miami doesn't give the ball to Malachi Toney over and over and let him make plays, and they're missing opportunity. But I'll say Ole Miss. You could say that as well about Georgia, but Ole Miss did a wonderful job. I don't know why other teams couldn't do it. They took away what Georgia wanted to do with the screen game against Ole Miss did against Georgia with Zach Branch, and that just changed Georgia's whole offense right there. And so if Indiana can figure out how to minimize just the playmaking ability of just getting the ball, just don't let him get the ball. Whatever you got to do, keep the ball out of Malachi Toney's hand, and you have a much better chance. So 34-24 is what I got. It'll be fun to watch as we close out. That's a good one.
Let's do this. Do this. Let's predict how many yards Malachi Toney has. How about that? What do you say? What do you say Signetti does? Because I think he's the best in football right now at rendering your best player moot. Yeah. So I'm going to say Malachi Toney under 30 yards receiving this game.
Wow, just receiving?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. They'll get the ball in his hands, but
I don't know. I got no idea on that one. I would. That's a good one to bet, because it makes you think. Can Indiana just shut down the one difference maker? I mean, they got some good players. Their running back's good. Fletcher's good, but that's the difference maker for their team. It's not Beck. Beck did really well in the last game and operated it within the offense, and that's what they need him to do: make throws, especially on third downs and in the fourth quarter. And that's what he did last week against Ole Miss, and they'll need him to do it again. But yeah, Malachi Toney, they're going to do everything they can to get the ball in his hands. So that'd be an interesting bet. I'm sure you can bet on it somewhere, Smooch.
Yeah, you can. That's what gave me the idea. But if you keep him under 80 yards, you win the game. I think that if he has a 75-yard game without a touchdown, there's no one else to rise up, not to cover what Indiana should score in this game. So, but I think they do it. I think they dedicate the game plan to removing him as an X factor, the same way they took Branch out of the game the other night. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all. And as soon as Carson almost throws an interception, trying to force the ball to him, you'll see him just ignore it at that point. And anyway, I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see Carson light it up for about 350 yards tonight. But
if Indiana comes out on defense on Miami's first drive and picks another one off, I mean, we already got people kind of looking crossways at them, sideways at Indiana. And
how you doing this?
How are they? Reading these plays, and how are they in your hip pocket so well with what you're calling, especially on those scripted drives. And there's always people throwing out some conspiracy theories, but I'd be interested to see how that works out. I do want to switch gears and talk about the Georgia Bulldogs, Smooch.
Yes.
And I got about 3 different things I think it'll probably take up the rest of the program today.
Let's do it.
First of all, when I there's so much cynicism right now in the Georgia fan base, and there's a little bit of poison that I guess comes along when you win at a high level. The expectations are always through the roof. Mm-hmm. But everywhere I go to try to read a little bit, there's always these people who everything they say is negative, and they're Georgia fans, but every take they have is negative. And this season, it seems like they've got two people pitted, not against each other, but just receiving the brunt of the off-season hate. Yes. And there's nothing you can do, nothing you can tell them. I don't even think it's low IQ fans. It's just fans who have such high expectations, and there's so much resentment that Georgia doesn't meet that expectation. And I think the expectations are way out of line with reality. Georgia's not going to have those. And I talk to people pretty much on a weekly basis, daily basis sometimes. And I can notice that their expectation is still at 2021, 2022 type of just domination, where you beat even good teams. You make them look terrible. When you put 40 points on them and they can barely manage 10 first downs in the game, and it just that domination, they feel like we should be able to do that again. Why can't we? We've done it before. Mm-hmm. If we're not doing it, it's got to be some reasons for it. And these two people they have pitted as one or the other is the reason for Georgia's failure to still be playing football right now.
Who are the two? Yeah, let's have them.
Yeah, obviously Mike Bobo. I don't care what he does during the season. What you see, if Georgia loses their last game, then it's a Bobo problem. I don't care if they score 35 points; it's still a Bobo problem.
Yeah,
and I've been back and forth, and it's now derangement syndrome. It's Bobo derangement syndrome. So you're not going to get anywhere with people who have already decided that as soon as Georgia doesn't convert a touchdown on any drive, it's freaking Mike Bobo. Mm-hmm. And but the other player is, of course, Gunnar Stockton. And a lot of folks are kind of, even though it's such a good story and we like the way he plays and how hard he plays and how he just puts everything on the field, leaves nothing there. This is teammates absolutely love him. Coaching staff absolutely loves him, because there is no doubt that this young man is sold out for Georgia football, and everything he does is geared towards being the best possible football player. We like those players; they're coachable, and they just want to succeed in any way possible. And they don't need the spotlight or the limelight, and that's why we like him. But a lot of fans have now determined that he is, even though we know he's more of a different quarterback, he uses his legs a lot. They've determined that he's not a passing quarterback, and our Georgia's offense will never excel under Gunnar Stockton. And there's a lid on what our offense could do because of either Mike Bobo, Gunnar Stockton, or both. And they just say they already say, okay, well, they're both going to be here next year, so there's no reason to be excited about next football at all.
Well, this is the age of the narrative, right? You see it with the media, right? The media propaganda puts a narrative out Those who consider themselves woke accept the narrative, they lap it up, and then anyone that disagrees with it is brutally rebuffed because that's what they're told to believe. The narrative right now is that Bobo can't coach an offense and Gunner can't throw the football. And to that mindset that is so easily spoon-fed propaganda and just wants to have something to hate and blame so easily, you can't even engage in a conversation with them about philosophy or what changes Kirby and the staff may make. It's all or nothing, right? This team can't win if Gunner's the quarterback. This team can't win if Bobo is the offensive coordinator. Guys, you said this about Todd Monken his first year. You wanted Todd Monken's head his first year in Athens. And I will have people swear to me that never happened. I remembered watching it. He had just come over from Cleveland, and Monken wasn't getting it done. And then, Troup, tell me where you've heard this, okay? Kirby is just too fixated on his quarterback. This is Gunner. He just likes him so much because he's a coach's dream that he's going to let him play and rather than get an elite quarterback. Now, what was the last Georgia quarterback you heard the exact same thing said about?
Well, they said some stuff about Stetson Bennett as well.
Stetson Bennett. They said Kirby is so in love with the idea of the underdog that he is blinded to. Remember, we had a 5-star sitting on the bench behind Stetson Bennett, and Kirby's so in love with this idea of the underdog that he's sitting the 5-star, and it's going to cost Georgia because, quote, Stetson Bennett cannot throw. He's more of a runner, more of a scrambler. He can't throw the ball. Stetson Bennett then went on in 2022 to make some of the best throws in Georgia history and was the reason Georgia won its second national championship in a row. Not a contributing factor. He was why. And so it's interesting to see the exact same thing repeated, almost with no knowledge of recent history. You know, you've got to give the benefit of the doubt of the guy with 2 national championships. The Fire Bobo guy online has nothing but a softball industrial league runner-up trophy at his house, okay? We're talking about Kirby freaking Smart. You know, this idea that you're somehow showing your fandom by being negative and pessimistic, encouraging nothing but doom and gloom going into the next season because what? You have the courage to see things the way they are. Well, you've had that courage before, and then Bennett went on and brought 2 national titles home. So, look, with Gunner, listen, I've got some complaints about Bobo, but Bobo got better this season than last season. If he gets better, that's all you can ask. The same thing with Gunner. Gunner has shown immense improvement in short periods of time. I don't expect that to. I think I guess the narrative is that he's going to hit a ceiling at some point. But
we've seen his best, and we've seen how limited he is. Yes, that's the.
Yeah.
Because he's been on campus for 4 years already. You're not going to see him get any better.
Yeah.
But it can't look, just a few years ago, like we said, there were 80% of fans, after we won a national championship, wanted Stetson Bennett to go on to the NFL, go do it, go sell insurance, whatever they thought he was going to do.
Go ride into the sunset. I remember it. Please don't come back. We've got to get Carson back on the field. Please don't come back. Ride off into the sunset. I remember it so well, and look what happened.
Yeah,
and,
I was surprised that he came back because he'd been in the system for a long time, and he played a lot of football, but he was the poster child for getting a year starting under your belt, and then the progression he made from to that next season, that it was just phenomenal. He threw for over 4,000 yards. He was phenomenal, and I thought that would happen again because with Georgia's coaching staff, I mean, there's not much that's changed with that, the way they do business. And so I thought that Beck would follow suit. His second season after 2023, and Georgia only lost 1 game, I said, okay, Beck's going to follow suit. You're going to see him take that second-year leap of being a starter, and it didn't happen. There were a multitude of reasons. Beck is just not that kind of – he's just not that kind of player, I felt like. He wasn't that year. He's kind of got himself together this year. He still throws a lot of interceptions. He's still not the guy that you can put everything on. And the players don't really get behind him like they do, like a Stetson Bennett or a Gunnar Stockton. You see that, and that bothered Beck. There's no doubt he didn't see what the support was for Gunnar Stockton that kind of helped him move on down the road.
Absolutely. I know when it happened, when Beck was injured in the SEC title game and Gunnar came in the game, the incredible encouragement he got from his team. I knew right then that's the last time you're going to see Carson Beck. That's it. Because that team respects Gunnar. Well, why do you think they respect him? They respect him because he can play ball. If he couldn't play ball, you wouldn't have 5-star players going to bat for him, guys. So the kid can play. And like I say, all you can do this season, this is that season. Second year as a starter, lots of juniors this year. This is that progression season. Some kids start their prime here. Some reach the ceiling and never get any better. You don't know which ones it's going to be, but this is the prove it season. So you might withhold judgment until you've seen the 2026 product on the field, because these same idiots are going to be on here claiming they knew all along this could happen or whatever if Georgia turns it around. They were a play short of the Final Four, but that's where we are with Georgia football. Kind of spoiled.
It's a weird spot because I think most fans want to love Gunnar Stockton, and they do love him as a damn good dog, but they don't know how to balance that out. He only threw for 150, 200 yards this game. We still won, but those stats just aren't pretty enough for me.
Yeah, and
it feels like it's more of a grind. And that was kind of a Gunnar Stockton team, and it has made Georgia better, more physical. They tackled better this year. They ran the ball much better.
They sure did.
But I will say that if we're looking at Bobo and Gunnar Stockton, if you got to say who's got to be better next year for Georgia to reach their goals, and it should be a roster, and we're going to talk about the roster in just a moment, but this should be a roster that should win. You should have all the expectations for Georgia to be in a championship game next year. But if there's one component, whether it's Bobo or if those are the two I have to choose from to say who's got to show the most growth, it is Gunnar Stockton. I really like what Bobo did this year, and when Georgia was at their healthiest times, when their offensive line was healthy and playing really well together, Georgia's offense was clicking, and it was an offense that we appreciated. We just saw things happen in progressions within a game and within the season. We were like, okay, because we had planned to do a whole episode on Mike Bobo and how this is a Bobo much more comparable to Monken than a lot of fans would have you believe. Just looking at the plays, and because we tend to watch. If you just watch the game copy, you don't see what's going on downfield. You see what happens at the line of scrimmage and whoever has the ball. But if you get one of these Skycast or all 22, you start to see what the possibilities are and what they're drawing up. And I came away saying Bobo is having a great season, not just an average mediocre season. It's not causing Georgia to lose. He's having a great season. And the players, a lot of times it was either, like I said, when we were healthy, offense clicking. So I think Gunnar Stockton, it does have the most room for improvement. But if you go back to what we were thinking that headed into this season, I was like, we were hoping for the best, Smooch. But we had seen Gunnar Stockton in spring games and a little bit here and there, and he looked like he was a limited quarterback. Well, but during this course of this season, we saw what it looks like when he is humming and when things are going well and in rhythm. And he has the ability to win at a high level. And so if you're going to make a judgment which quarterback is going to make a big leap, and you're looking at what happened with Beck, and it's like, well, this Georgia coaching staff couldn't get the most out of Beck, and we'll compare the three quarterbacks in Gunnar Stockton, Carson Beck, and Stetson Bennett as players, as what they're built, how they're built, and their lifestyles and what's important to them. Not saying that Carson Beck isn't, 75% locked in to playing quarterback, but these other quarterbacks are 100% locked in. That's what I feel. I didn't think that Beck just wasn't doing his job or wasn't preparing, but these other quarterbacks didn't allow for that 25%. That's just a random number I threw out there, but it feels about like that. And so I'd expect it to follow more of how Stetson Bennett, who had been in the program for years, and just like Gunnar Stockton. And so there's a high possibility you're going to see the best of Gunnar Stockton this next season.
Yeah, the one thing, and you saw it happen more and more as the season went on, but Gunnar would miss, not miss with the ball, miss with his eyes, open receivers, right, that were further down the field. That aggression is what needs to change. We need to attack those. I get it. Kirby's risk averse. You can throw interceptions when you're throwing over linebackers in front of safeties, but we've got to take those chances. That's the only way you're going to be explosive. And that's the only way you're going to hit Talon Taylor 17 yards down the field and he breaks a tackle and takes it 65 yards. You know, we didn't have many of those plays this year because we were very, and I mean very cautious with the football. And
you're right.
Yeah.
The one thing that tells you that Kirby Smart believes that Gunnar needed to take more risk, because when he threw his first interception of the year, I think it was the first, might have been the second one, he praised him after the game and said, I don't have any problem at all. That lets you know he's pushing Gunnar to make some of these throws. They're out there for you. We aren't trying to keep you under wraps at this point.
Yeah.
Take a chance. Throw some balls that aren't, on our sure thing.
Yeah.
Anticipate some routes. Throw people open. Put it in a little bit of risk. Yeah. And so Gunnar did that for parts of the season. We did see him kind of pull back, and I don't know if it was because he was injured. We did hear he had a oblique injury that nobody talked about, but we did come out. He did have an oblique injury late in the season, and so you just don't know. And he kept taking punishment. It's not like he didn't take punishment after that.
Yeah, that's another maturing process too. Just slide. We're not going to think less of you. Get your butt
Save
on
that
the ground
for the fourth quarter when the game's on the line, not in the first and second quarter.
Yeah. I mean, oblique injuries are nasty, right? One ended Steve Avery's career, right? Pitcher for the Braves. Don't mess around with stuff like that. Keep your body healthy. There's no honor in walking around with a limp 2 months after the season's over. They do love him. He's a football
player. Yeah. To put this up there, and we'll send a shout out to Bulldog reporter Eric Taylor. And when we're talking about Bobo and what plays he called, here's the two top schemes that they used this year. And the number one they turned to was the inside zone, and then number two was that flood concept, the sail, and the flood concept. That's more of obviously a passing offense, and so. You saw a lot of this is like three levels of routes. You got, if flood one side, you got one deep route, you got one intermediate route, and you got a shorter route. And so they call this a lot. And quarterbacks have an opportunity to read what the defense is doing and how the defensive line does tell you a lot of times what they're going to give you. And sometimes on these on the flood route, the concept, that deep route is to just stretch the field, is to take, push everything out a little bit, create some more space for the underneath routes, and they're just kind of running out the defense. And they'll if they're playing a too deep zone, they're going to sit a safety over top of that. There's not going to be much available, but it does give you some room to operate underneath. And we're okay with that. We're okay, like you said, with the 15 to 20 yard passes. But when you got Zach Branch, he was such a security blanket. And they won't have him next year. They have to find somebody that they want somebody in that role. But I doubt they're going to target him as much as they did Zach Branch this past year. But the routes were there, and this is the progression of a quarterback. Sometimes that route is covered, but if you do get situations where that safety is not over the top, and you can take some of these 50-50 chances and let your guy make a play or get a pass interference, and we didn't do that enough this year. But it feels like Georgia fans, all they see is, well, we're not. When they think about an offense really excelling and maximizing potential, they want deep passes. We played video games. We throw a lot of go routes, a lot of streaks, a lot of seam routes. We like that as fans. We want to see explosive passing plays. Throw it deep. And when we're not doing that, and you have to be very efficient, which Georgia was very efficient, maybe the most efficient offense Georgia has had under Kirby Smart, very efficient. and they controlled the clock, which that plays out with what's the time of possession, and converted third downs, red zone offense. Georgia was very good at all those. But within that, there is less margin for error. And so turnovers do matter when you're controlling a lot of clock and having long 12, 13 play drives. The game goes by quicker. Georgia does want that in their system. They do want that in their offense, the explosiveness and the ability to hit the mid-level and deep routes. But they have to be there. And if some teams are going to try to take that away from you, but you saw a little bit later in the season where teams were starting to walk up. They were getting tired of getting jabbed with Zach Branch and some of these short passes, and then Georgia was using that against them to burn them. That's when I really felt like, okay, as long as Gunnar Stockton's got time to throw the ball, we got something here. The offense is humming, and that didn't last as long as we wanted it to. I feel like Drew Bobo getting hurt was huge, and that was something we didn't really able to replace. Ole Miss, man, I'm telling you, they ran stunts all game long, and it was hard for Tolliver and these other linemen to kind of make up for what they were missing.
And a fair criticism. You want a fair criticism of Bobo? You got the best tight end room in the country. If you got the best room of something in the country, when the defense is giving you problems, you need to get it in their hands. We did. Yeah. I mean, that's a fair criticism. The tight ends were hardly used at all. We got 5-stars sitting on the bench, scratching themselves, doing nothing. That sucked. I mean, you've got to get them involved. And next year, when you got Talon Taylor, London Humphreys coming back, Sokovie White-Helton, you've got Blackshear, CJ Wiley, Landon Rolden.
Yes.
Those kids are there to catch the dadgum football. Let's throw it up and let them catch it.
Well, let me ask you this, Smooch.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, Lucky only had like 15 catches this past season. But it felt like almost every time that we looked at a play and was like, oh, why didn't he just throw this ball? It was a tight end. There was a tight end running behind the linebackers in an open space, and either Gunnar didn't throw it or didn't see him. It was very often the tight ends were finding spaces and just not getting the ball. So I don't know if – I mean, it's definitely something that they need to fix going into next year because you got Lucky.
Yeah,
you're going to have Lucky. You're going to have Elias Williams and Barbour, all big-time playmakers.
Mm-hmm. It's where his eyes go. When Gunnar throws over the middle, the play is designed to go over the middle. Okay. If Gunnar is scanning a defense, that ball is either going to a wide receiver on the outside or to a check down. Almost always. So Gunnar's not going first, second, then there's my third read with a 12-yard dig over the middle. I'm hitting him. He almost never throws that ball. So if they run a play designed to move like a mesh, designed to get a rub or a pick, and you get a tight end open, like the one they hit Lucky with in the 3 TD game that he had, if they run that, Gunnar's real good at getting on the ball because that's where the play is designed to go. Where Gunnar struggles is when his primary read is not open. He almost never lands on a tight end after that. It's always the other receiver deep down the field or a check down, or he's going to run. And almost always. And so somehow they've got to train his eyes to get over the middle as he moves up in the pocket. We did not see much of that this year because with Gunnar's legs, with a play breaking down, getting the ball to Jaden Riddell, with a play falling apart, you could have some huge gains.
Yeah, that's going to be there. That's what I was about to piggyback on. That's going to be there just because he can extend plays. And that's the danger of a quarterback extending plays. It's not always the rushing yardage he picks up. It's the explosive pass that he makes because we've seen what happens when you ask Georgia DBs to cover for 5-6 seconds.
Yes,
people leak open. It's almost impossible to stay with a wide receiver or a tight end. And that's where a lot of big plays can happen. And so that's very, very possible. The type of leap you would see Gunnar because he's got all the tools. He has the legs. He has the acumen and the willingness to be that kind of a quarterback. But that's the step as the game slows down. And people can say, well, he's been in the system for 4 or 5 years. buddy, it doesn't matter. You have to be on the field in the SEC for those things to all coalesce and to come together.
Yep.
And he got to go through that this year. That's the way you grow, not on the practice field. I mean, you can give yourself an opportunity on the practice field. You have to actually do it, and doing that, and then having another year coming back, you will. I feel like you'll see the best of Gunnar Stockton. He has a higher ceiling than he has the ability to maintain that ceiling and that production better next year than he did this year.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I'll tell you something else. This is more for the naysayers. Look, guys, if Ryan Puglisi was a better option, he'd be the quarterback. I promise you. You guys watch Ryan Puglisi throw against air and you salivate over that arm. He is an interception machine at practice, guys. He throws a ton of picks. As a matter of fact, there are some on the inside that are suggesting that Ryan Montgomery may surpass Puglisi for the 2 spot this year, that may actually be possible because Montgomery doesn't turn the ball over, also has impressive ball skills. So when we're talking about these quarterbacks, look, I love Puglisi's arm. I love his footwork. I even think he's a lot more mobile than people think, but he turns the ball over. If he was the better option, he'd be the quarterback. Kirby's not going to intentionally lose games to stick with his favorite. That's a childish accusation.
It is. I hate to hear that too. It's so ridiculous. And the only reason Mike Bobo is still the OC for Georgia is because they're buddies, and he'll never move away. He'll never turn that loose. And that's the same thing with Gunnar Stockton. He just likes him. He's a good old boy, Georgia boy, and they're just buddies. That's not how you get to the pinnacle of college football, and letting those things be the primary reason that you depend on people. It is not at all.
Right. Right.
So, state of the program. We mentioned this last week, and we were talking about it earlier. As this past season, Smooch, if Georgia, they did make the playoffs, they did win the SEC championship. They had some just spectacular games. What a wild and fun season! But they were a year early. If they would have won it all this year, which is the goal. So if you don't win it all, then you didn't meet your goals. But they would have been a year early if they had done it this year. So young and so inexperienced in playing time in some key areas. And you saw that. That's why the team improved. So the state of the program. Let's talk a little bit about what you feel like we are, where we are as a program in terms of the roster and where we are to winning another national championship.
Well, I love the term a year early. I think that is spot on. And here's what he means by that. Georgia had the #1 recruiting class in the country a few years ago, and they've kept a large portion, especially in this day and time. They have kept a large portion of that recruiting class together, and that recruiting class will be going into this next season as juniors. And as you well know, junior is usually the year when a player takes that huge step and goes from prospect to star. Georgia has an assortment of 4 and 5 stars from that #1 recruiting class entering their junior year. And a lot of those guys played significant time and even started this year and had success, periods of success. And you know what also they had? Periods of gross inconsistency, which is going to happen when you're younger. But this is that year. The year is 2026. You've got your #1 recruiting class going into their junior year. And so everything looks great there. Linebacker looks ridiculous. Even the secondary, we've lost some guys, but we've also patched some holes. Feel pretty good there. I think some of the attrition we took in the secondary was guys that could see the writing on the wall. I think Aguero left the same way that Pop Johnson left.
Yeah.
He sort of saw, I'm not going to hold on to a starting position this next year. I know what's behind me. And good luck to him. Hope Aguero goes on, becomes a first-round draft pick, all that stuff. But I don't think he was going to hold on to that position at Georgia. He had a up and down career. But
so what would you say? Just segueing right into that, what would you say the strengths are of this returning team in the next season?
Well, the defensive line and the linebackers are insane. With the kid we picked up from Auburn, it has course, you've got to put it together on the field. But on paper, Georgia has the most intriguing rush defense and pass rush in the entire SEC going into 2026. So you've got 5 stars at every position. Literally, you've got 5 stars on the bench at every position. It is a loaded.
That's where Georgia's recruited. That's really the bulk of their, in terms of those recruiting classes, that 2024 number 1 recruiting class. A lot of that was defense.
Right.
And so you saw, like you said, third-year players this coming year, Smooch, you're right. Mm-hmm. And they're freshmen who started last year who got like Griffin and Zayden Walker, who got out there. So they're going to be second-year players that played a lot. So you're adding that together.
Yet when you put Griffin together with our 2 DNs now, with you got the Auburn kid and the kid that's already at Georgia, 33. I'm drawing a blank. You know,
well, you got Quinn Johnson and Gabe Harris coming back.
Yeah, and Gabe Harris coming back. You throw all that together and then put. I was saving this for a little later. What I saw from number 90 this year in Griffin, I saw somebody that may pop similar. Don't fry me here. Similar to the way that that Jalen Carter did his sophomore year, where he became. The 2021 season, he was the best defender on the field. He was a sophomore. We could see something similar from Griffin. The talent's there. And what makes me think that, Troup, is because of the talent around him. There is no way to double team him this coming season with what will be on the field with the Janye and him, and then the ends, and then you got the backers off the edge. There's no one to focus on to double team. Remember the impact that Bear Alexander had as a youngster at Georgia, because you couldn't double team him. He goes off and finds out what it's like to not be surrounded by 5-star talent on defense. But anyway, that's got me the most excited. As you can tell, I can talk about it forever. But we will have a havoc creating, to use a term that Eric Bulldog Report uses all the time, a havoc creating defensive front on paper.
Yeah, there's no excuses.
Yeah,
no excuses.
That's right.
Defensively, like we just said, that's where a lot of the bulk of that star power in those recruiting classes is on defense. It just is. Mm-hmm. And when we did a little segment earlier this year, it showed you the recruiting rankings for a lot of these guys that came in here, and they're all 94, 95 out of 100. That's high 4-star, 5-star talent. And and a lot of those folks now are seasoned to the point where you can expect to see the best from them and enjoy it, because it should be a defensive line, linebackers, and secondary. Georgia obviously will be returning DeMello Jones and Ellis Robinson. And then they brought in Gentry Williams, who is a very, very talented defensive back from Oklahoma. He just couldn't stay healthy.
He's a
little smaller. That's the only word about him. They said he might be that third back, but he's a little smaller than DeMello and Ellis.
Well, that might be a good thing. In terms of keeping him off the field all the time. If you can just keep him healthy, his skill set in man-to-man coverage is absurd. His problem has only been staying healthy. So maybe if he is in a spot where he's rolled out once a series, might help him stay healthy. I don't know. It's a shoulder, by the way, so it doesn't affect his speed. It's a shoulder that's nagged him his entire career. I don't know. I know Kirby is a physical coach, so how much that shoulder can take, all the hitting at practice and things like that. But the Dawgs felt good enough about it to make him an offer. So,
we don't know how it transpired, Smooch, with Dom Kelly leaving, whether Georgia knew he was going and then brought Gentry in, or bringing Gentry in made him say, okay, well, I want to play this year. And that's going to make it much more difficult for Gentry Williams to come in and have one season left to do his thing. So I don't know how that transpired, but we did lose Dom Kelly, and we were prepared to see big things for him. But the biggest player, the best player that Georgia brought in, and he's got a name that, it doesn't really jump out, but Amaris Williams from Auburn.
From Auburn.
He was playing running back in high school, Smooch, and he's just a first-year player, I believe. He was playing running back in high school at 260, 6'2", 260, and just like Derrick Henry. I think you mentioned that. Looked like Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
But he gives you the explosiveness and the twitch that Georgia, they got good players on the edge. Other than Zayden Walker, there's nobody, and Zayden's not as big as he is.
Yeah.
But Amaris, maybe a little undersized, but he's got that twitch and ability to disrupt offense and to get in the backfield. So he is somebody that Georgia is going to pour a lot into, who could be a sensational player in the next couple years.
His body type and his abilities. Now we haven't seen we're not saying this is going to transfer to the field, but his physical abilities are somewhere in between Ojulari and Trayvon. That's where his if you watch his tape, he's got a violent hands, very similar to Ojulari, and explosive, and he's got physical traits very similar to Trayvon. They're even kind of built similar, but that could be huge, especially surrounded by talent where he can't be the focal point of an offensive coordinator trying to double him or chip him with a back, because you've got someone else that can win one-on-one right next to him. That could be huge. I remember him coming out of high school because they didn't know exactly, if I'm remembering correctly, the knock was, what's he going to play? He's going to be a little bit raw, but the tools are all there, and he should be a perfect fit in that Georgia front, and really a catalyst for the rest of it.
Yeah, I'm looking at Gabe Harris and Quinn Johnson and Amaris Williams all together, rotating in and out, and depending on what down and what the distance is. Mm-hmm. And he's just a great addition to a defense I already anticipate was going to be stout. They were stout last year, but now everything should come together. Even though we are going to lose our quarterback in terms of the defense of the linebacker core, Raylan Wilson is going to jump in there. And Chris Cole and Justin Williams, as well as Zayden Walker, some of those guys are getting an opportunity to play a lot more snaps. So I'm anxious to see how they use Chris Cole. I hope they lessen his workload in terms of what they want him to do, the multitude of things, and he can concentrate
on havoc
and blow up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as well. Jalen Walker left season before last. C.J. Allen leaves this season. Where is the vocal leader come from? Is it Raylan? Where is it? Where is that fire plug leader going to step up? We know Kirby already knows who it is, but that's the kind of thing that's fun to see. As some of these guys, even though they may be natural leaders, they still take a bit of a back seat, because C.J. Allen's been in the program forever, right? He had earned the right to speak, and everybody gets quiet. He's gone. That baton has been passed. Stuff like that will have a huge impact on the identity that this defense takes on this year. So I suspect Raylan steps into that role, but we'll kind of have to wait and see.
Now, I do think offensively, I am encouraged and think a strength is going to be experience at quarterback and running back. Mm-hmm. It just will. Those guys will have really good seasons, I anticipate. Some questions, weaknesses, Smooch, a couple of different position groups I question more. One I'm worried about, one I'm excited about, but still unsure about. And I would say the one I'm excited about but still unsure because of in-game experience, it would be the wide receiver core. Lots of playmakers there. They haven't done it yet, and it's going to be their time to do it this next coming season.
Yeah, and you're going to have some sophomores looked at heavily, but this is a new age. I mean, you see what the kid in Miami's doing right now. It's you get the ball in the hands of playmakers and let them make plays. And so they're just unproven. The playmakers are there. But we've got to start. As a matter of fact, I think it's incumbent upon Kirby, if you're going to continue to attract your Talon Taylors, you got to get them on the field and get them highly involved.
You're going to have Talon Taylor and C.J. Allen. C.J. Wiley.
Yeah,
have big seasons, and to go with Sokovie White, he's going to be used a lot. But and to go with that, when we're talking about receivers, those tight ends are going to have to play a big part. You're going to want to see Elias Williams and Barbour and Lucky be weapons offensively, just like the wide receivers. You will be able to split Barbour out And Ethan Prothro, if they want to throw him in there, but they got some tight ends that they could use in wide receiver type positions, because I think they were going to use Barbour in more of a wide receiver, tight end, fullback kind of a role before he got injured early. And he's a player that should pop, and they use him a lot. Not saying he's going to put up numbers like Brock did, but they're going to use. I feel like they're going to use him very similar, and it'll be up to him. I mean, that would be a great tandem if you think about it. Elias Williams and Barbour, kind of like they had with Washington and Bowers.
Oh, that would be so fun. That would be so fun. We need that. Let's do one of those. Yeah, that
was a huge part of those years, Smooch, because it put defenses in such a quandary with Washington and Bowers. Attached to the line of scrimmage or splitting out, because you just couldn't find anybody to cover them. You had to make some tough decisions on how you defended that, and you just didn't know what they were going to do. Were they going to block, or were they going to be a weapon or a receiver? And so they can do that again. They just got to make a concerted effort to do it. My other question I'm worried about, the most worry I have, is a big spot. I'm worried about our offensive line.
Yeah,
we did lose Monroe Freeling to the draft. I was crossing my fingers he'd come back, but people finally took notice at how good he was.
Yeah,
and so they're going to have to. Looks like they're going to go with who they have on the roster, unless they're going to turn to a freshman, which they have a 5-star freshman tackle coming in Ogboko. It'll probably be Gaston and Green. Green is coming back, it looks like, and but you don't have much behind that. I'm worried about the depth, and you're going to have to find another guard. You're going to have to find, I guess, maybe like a Calhoun. Daniel Calhoun's he's finally got to show what we brought him to campus for.
That's exactly right.
But behind those guys, I'm worried about the 2 deep. You may be okay at your number ones, but I worry about the 2 deep, because we see every year, you better have a rotation, and you better be ready for somebody to go down for a couple of games, because if you don't, it can disrupt everything you do on offense. We've seen it happen.
Yeah, well, you said it perfectly. The secret is out on Monroe Freeling. He's a high first-round draft pick. Don't believe me? Just watch. I'll make a prediction right now. He blows the combine up. He's on everybody's board after the NFL combine. He was really good. Just like when we had Andrew Thomas here, we didn't realize how good we had it till he was gone. We'll probably see a little bit of that. Hewley leaving takes that reliable depth, just gone, leaving via the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And so
Colorado.
Where does it come from? And what changes do we make on the line this year? Because you said this in the pre-show, whatever our scheme is, we have trouble plug and playing. So somebody goes down with an injury, rolls an ankle or whatever, we drop someone in there, and there's a lot of times, huge fall off in quality on the offensive line.
We saw it with 3 different players.
Yeah, we saw
Jaw Jackson get in there.
Right.
Jaw Jackson got his shot.
Yeah.
Uini got his shot.
Oh,
Tolliver got his shot. All those guys.
Uini looked like he had never played football before, and we know he's talented. So what exactly is happening that's making them so disconnected from the scheme? Because we know Uini can play, but he looked like he couldn't for periods of time. So what changes philosophically there? Do we bring in, remember that we brought in coaches this year to help restore the run game. Do we see something similar focused on the offensive line? Do we see any specialists brought in there just to make things more, replicatable? Where you can replicate them more often.
Yeah.
Because we really didn't. When we broke up that starting 5, it went to chaos. And so we can't have that. We had some Alabama game, right? We had a breakdown on the O-line that literally cost us the game because we didn't touch a defender that was on the defensive line. He just somehow ran right past a lineman that I don't know what he was doing. That type of thing can't happen.
Yeah. I predict, of course, Drew Bobo at center. And then I think they'll pair Glover and Gaston on the same side. And then it'll be Green at other tackle, and whoever ends up being that other guard, and it may be Calhoun. I think he's got dibs, but you'll have to earn it in practice. But then again, like I said, Georgia likes to rotate those players, have another third guard come in a lot of times if that's where the talent is. But I'm more worried about that offensive line, and that because we've seen it so many times when Georgia has had, like when Georgia was humming in 21, 22. But that offensive line was. We didn't even talk about the line. We just knew that was understood that the line was going to do a great job, and they did. And you can move on to the next problem. And when Georgia was playing well this year as well, the offensive line was playing so good.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm more worried about the depth.
Without a doubt. That's the only source of worry. I'm not worried about Gunner at all. I'm worried about Gunner getting his head knocked off without an offensive line.
They'll try to I think they'll try to pull the reins on. I like him running the ball on some of his design runs. Just too much. It was just too much late in the year. And I think he paid a price for it. Georgia did bring in, like I said, on the transfer portal. I feel like they did great with that. The only three players that name players they lost: Aguero, Dominic Kelly, and then Bo Hewley. But they did bring in Amaris Williams, Gentry Williams was the DB, Isaiah Canyon from Georgia Tech, 6'4" outside receiver.
Yeah.
What's this? The Riddle kid from East Carolina is going to play a lot in the safety position potentially.
Riddle's a unique player for Georgia because he is a ball hawk playmaker, a risk taker. So he's a little different than the normal mold. He's got a little bit of Javon Bullard in him and like his play style. You'll like it. Yeah.
And Braylon Conley came in from USC, another DB, and then running back Dowdell from Kentucky, who some people compare to similar to a Kendall Milton maybe.
Little smaller, a little faster than Kendall. Yeah.
Yeah, an insurance policy behind Georgia's incumbent running backs would be nice to have. You know how running backs get dinged up and they do rotate them a lot.
Yep.
Plus, I think Georgia had their best portal season. They really brought in some good players. I don't know if there's anybody of the Zach Branch, but on offense, like a Zach Branch who makes that much of a difference because how could they? But Amaris Williams could do that defensively.
Yeah, and I don't think you want that this year. I think that's purposeful. Gunner has been with these receivers for years. There's chemistry there. I mean, if you get an Isaiah Branch, you take him. But do you go into the portal and take a bunch of mid-range guys? No. Look, London Humphreys and Gunner have been playing football together for a little while now.
Yeah.
C.J. Allen. Not C.J. Allen. See, well, you did that. Now I have to do it.
I got you.
C.J. Wiley has caught, almost every one of his college passes at practice from Gunner Stockton. I like keeping that together and not muddying the waters. So I'm good there. I like the depth at running back. I feel good about the depth at playmaker and at tight end. Like I say, I wouldn't be surprised. It'll be interesting to see what we have planned on offensive line. If there's more to come, or are we good to roll with what we've got going into next season?
Well, another player that they recruited and have brought in, I watched him play in high school playoffs with two guys that could play quickly. And one of them's that Zyke Helton. Mm-hmm. Man, he's a center. He's recruited as a center, but he was a defensive player of the game in the state championship game and just a game wrecker on both sides of the ball.
Interesting.
So Zyke Helton is somebody to pay attention to. And then Kene Egboko he's a 5-star. And both of these guys are 5-star talents.
Yeah.
And so those are Georgia just showed you. If they have to, they'll put 2 freshmen in there and they rotate some of those guys in. They'll do it if they have the ability. And I think we were very happy with what we saw from Glover and Gaston this year. And so that may be where some of that depth comes from. Georgia has had some misses on the offensive line from 2 or 3 years ago where there's some just complete classes, just nothing is coming out of them or hasn't yet. Maybe you get one of these guys as a senior come in and get some time. But sometimes that happens, and that's one of my main knocks on Stacy Searles is he doesn't recruit at the same level as we have been accustomed to, and so you have to hit on some. You have to play guys earlier. I don't know. There's going to be a depth issue this year. Georgia didn't really attack that in the transfer portal. They brought in one player. I don't remember his name recently, but I don't think he's a starter level at all. But that was the main area that if they could have found some offensive tackles specifically, they would have spent on them. and they just never materialized at all.
Yeah,
So
there wasn't much in the market.
That's the place I worry about. Georgia will have a whole off season to figure that out. But we're aware. We're watching you guys. We expect you to help figure that out, like you did the running game last year.
Exactly.
Because there's going to be no excuses next year. This is a championship team, and Georgia should be ranked in the top 3, whatever that means. But this is a team. As we talk more and more in the off season, we're going to kind of springboard from this conversation. That this is a year. This is a year that you should have high expectations. This is not a rebuilding year.
That's right.
It should. So that's where we are. We're gonna cook some good food tonight. Or Smooch has got a little. What you cooking up tonight for the Boston butt for the championship game?
Yeah, I've got a Boston butt that I've it's off the smoker. It's in the right now. It's in the crock pot, basting in Dr. Pepper. Little trick I picked up, and so I'll make a sweet barbecue. I'll pull that and make a sweet barbecue sauce tonight, and we'll have Dr. Pepper barbecue. You really don't taste the Dr. Pepper, but it's just sweet. It's really good. Anyway, We'll have pulled pork tonight for the game, and some potato salad and some baked beans, and all that fun stuff.
Love it.
How about y'all?
I'm going to grill up. I think I'm going to grill up some of our Alaska salmon.
Always a wise
we were talking.
choice.
We caught so much last year.
Yeah.
And I get asked this all the time. I have conversations every week. Somehow the conversation goes to Alaska because my wife, of course, is from Alaska. And then we go there every summer. And we're already making preparations to go again. We're starting to get some of those things taken care of because you have to start early because those things will dry up. But anyway, we caught 190 pounds of actually, we caught 87 salmon last year between us 5. And when we filleted it up and had it processed, it was like 188, 190 pounds of salmon fillets. That's a lot.
Fillets.
We brought home and split up.
Yeah, that's a lot of fillets, people.
We still got a lot of it. So we're just talking. We need to start eating some more of it because
I never thought I'd give away fish as a Christmas present, but I have now.
Yeah, that is a hot commodity.
Yeah.
Especially when you can say, I caught this and filleted it myself on the Kenai River.
That is the darn truth. Behind. We got the blood, sweat, and tears involved to get that. Yep.
Yeah, so that's probably what we're going to eat, some salmon, grill some salmon up. And, stress-free ball game tonight, national championship. I hope it does come down to a final possession. That'll make it worth watching. Now I understand why so many people got tired of Georgia winning because some of those championship games, or at least one of them, the TCU game, not much fun to watch. As a casual fan of another team, who wants to watch that after the first quarter?
It was close for 9 minutes or so, and then it just got glorious after that.
All right. Anything else, Smooch? Let's wrap this one up.
That's great, man. Go Dogs. Let's. It's a shame to see the season end tonight, but it does. Expect to see an iteration of Dog Show After Dark coming out soon. Once we're going to be figuring that out as we build the show, people. So be ready.
Yeah. And one final word. Don't be so cynical, folks. Enjoy it. You're still in the glory years. It doesn't end in a champion. It's hard to win. We were talking about this after the loss to Ole Miss on our chat group, and I was just like, guys, it's just hard to win. Kirby tells you guys. He tells us in press conferences, it's just hard. It's not easy to win each game. Mm-hmm. And to win a championship, it is difficult. There's lots of hurdles in your way to win a championship. So don't be so cynical. Love your team. I'm not saying to give everybody a free pass, but let's be a little more even-handed and trust that Kirby Smart is going to do everything he can to bring us into the championship.
You know what I went back and figured? This team is 5 plays away from 8-4. If you go back and do the math and look at the different situations. So let's be happy with what we saw this year. They're 5 plays away from 8-4. Now that's how difficult this game is, and that's how unforgiving it is. And we win when it comes down to one play. We win that play 90% of the time. We just didn't once this year. That's it.
True story. Yep. True story. All right, for Smooch Moncrief, this is Troup Brinson. So long. We'll see you soon.
This is the Dog Show with Troup and Smooch.
It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show.
This is the Dog Show.
This is the Dog Show.